Hi,
Lydia's going to start talking.
Hi, I'm Lydia Wainwright, and I guess we're going to go ahead and get started. It's 8 o'clock, huh?
Sounds
So,
good.
all right, I'm Lydia Wainwright. I've been an acupuncturist for over 11 years now, and it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you Dr. Karen Kan, who is going to talk with us about patches, about these LifeWave patches and how they can help you. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me turn my camera off. And now when I'm talking, can we see my slide or do we?
Yep, it's these
There we
slides. Everyone should be seeing my slide now.
go. Okay, great. So, like I said, I've been a practitioner with people for over 11 years, and I work on animals. I've worked on them for over 10 years. I also supervise students at Maryland University of Integrative Health, which is an acupuncture school, plus other things. We have all kinds of great master's degree programs and doctorate. And before that, I was a professional with horses, and I work on horses. I treat horses. I have for over 10 years. If you want to know more about me, you can go to acuanimal.com to learn about my practice. And if you want to learn about how I use the patches, my site is patchitup.net with the dashes in between. And I do patching on animals as well as on people. But now I'd like to go ahead and turn this over to Dr. Karen Kan. Please take it away, Dr. Kan.
Awesome. Thanks, Lydia. Well, tonight we're kind of doing like a question answer kind of thing, and I'll be going over what the patches do, kind of briefly what they do, how they work, and who they're for. And then we'll do some Q&A. There's a lot of common questions that we get about the patches, so we'll do that at the end. And then if you have any other ones, we could also, you know, possible if you wanted to come right on the Google Hangout, you can ask us or you can email us afterwards. We have a Facebook page, which is our Patch Training Team Facebook page. So if you go on Facebook and search Patch Training Team, you'll see our Facebook page with our little logo here that you see here at the bottom left. Then you'll know it's our page and you can post additional questions there. We'll be happy to answer those for the next week or so after this webinar. So in case you don't know me that well, I am the best-selling author of the book Guide to Healing Chronic Pain, A Holistic Approach, and it's a 416-page book, kind of mind, body, spirit. And under the body section, we do some energy medicine tools and techniques, of which the patches, I do highlight those and how you can use them for helping the symptom of pain and stress and detoxification. And I do a lot of energy work. In addition to acupuncture, I'm also a certified emotion code specialist or practitioner, and I also do the body code as well, which is an energy medicine healing technique. I've been featured on public television in Discoveries in Alternative Medicine, as well as on Biography TV, teaching people about energy medicine. I've been with LifeWave probably since 2005, I think, so it's almost been almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years this fall. And a big fan of their products. It's just one of the tools that I use often in my healing practice. I just find that people heal a heck of a lot faster if they use tools like these, powerful tools that they can do at home on their own. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is just summarizing kind of how the patches work, what they are, what they can and cannot do when it comes to health, a little bit about research that's been done, as well as who these patches are best suited for, and then answering some of the common questions about patching. And there's quite a few of those questions, so we want to make sure we leave plenty of time for those questions at the end. And we, of course, welcome questions. Like I said, if you're not on live with us if you're just listening in and not on the actual Hangout, what you can do is you can post the questions on the YouTube page after the webinar is over, or you can go to our Facebook page and ask us additional questions. The one thing we do ask you to respect and honor is do not put any disease names online, because the patches are not an FDA certified drug of any sort, so we cannot claim to treat, cure, prevent any disease. So if you're interested in how they can maybe support the healing process in the body, if somebody has a disease, I'd prefer that you just don't use the disease name. So just kind of stick to the symptoms, because if we do see disease names, we're going to have to erase that off the Facebook page. Sorry. The rules are very strict with corporate. Also, as we'll be answering some questions about, who can we use patches with, for example, people with pacemakers, children, pregnant women. So I'm not going to read the fine print here for you, because we'll go over that a little later. Okay. So what are LifeWave patches and how do they work? That's the first question we'll go through. So some of you are already familiar with acupuncture. Most people have heard about it. Both Lydia and I are acupuncturists. We're trained a little differently. I've done more kind of Western-based acupuncture, more French energetics acupuncture. But it's felt to be a system that's been around for thousands of years, and the idea is that there are these energy channels in the body, and if the energy channels are clear, they have got good energy running through them, they're balanced in their energy, then we're pretty healthy. However, there's a lot of imbalances that can be caused by our environment and our lifestyles and what we eat and so on and so forth. And so these channels can get stuck. The energy can get stuck. And when that happens, then the body goes through an imbalance and eventually can become diseased or ill. And acupuncture helps to unblock the stuck energy. There's these tiny little needles that we put in specific spots in the body to try to increase the flow of energy, and that's one of the most famous ways that acupuncture is used is in pain relief, because it can unstuck the energy that's causing the pain. For example, we have some patches that are for pain, and so if we can increase the flow of energy like we do with acupuncture, then we already know that acupuncture is very helpful and supportive for pain relief, and it can be very, very quick too. The patches can work as quickly, if not more quickly, by relieving that obstruction and causing the this blockage between, for example, in this picture, between the patches. If there's for example, leg pain or hip pain, you can actually place the patches in a way that increases the flow of energy and blocks whatever it is that's causing the pain. The cool thing about the patches too is it's non-transdermal, meaning that none of the chemicals, there's no chemicals or drugs, nothing goes through the body. It works actually through light, which is the next slide that I forwarded too quickly too. So this is a chart about the different frequencies we use or have in our world. We have slow waves, frequencies like radio waves that you can hear, and then we've got really high wave or frequencies like visible light and color, and then really, really high waves like gamma rays and X-rays that you can't see, they're invisible. Now, infrared is kind of between microwaves and the visible spectrum, and that's where the patches work. They're in the infrared range. There's a bunch of frequencies that they resonate, and each patch is a slightly different spectrum of frequencies in their infrared range, and that's how they communicate to the body, because the body also has its own energy system in the infrared frequency range. Some people already knew that. Now, this is a great slide that I borrowed from Dr. Steve Haltiwanger, which he is the medical director of the LifeWave company, and he heads up all the research there. And so he's given me permission to use this slide in training. This is a technique called gas discharge visualization. These are two patches. This is a white energy enhancer patch at the top. This is a tan energy enhancer patch at the bottom. And there's actually these tiny little nano-sized crystals in them. And you can actually see the energy coming off the patches using this technique. Of course, with the naked eye, you cannot see infrared light. So, but you can actually use different instruments to actually see how the energy is emanating from the patches, which is kind of cool. And Lydia, let me know if you have any questions, or you think people might have questions, or if I'm talking too fast, which I tend to do. Just interrupt me and let me know.
Oh, you're doing great as far as I'm concerned. Hopefully everybody agrees. Yeah, it's just those are really really cool pictures. I'm glad that you have those to share. Thank you
Hmm.
for sharing that.
Yeah, because some people, I'm kind of I like the left brain as well as the right brain stuff, and the doctor in me really likes the left brain stuff. I really
Yeah.
enjoy it. So I do kind of like to know how things work, and I know a lot of people are like that too. So for the engineers out there, actually a lot of engineers don't even bother coming on the call, but for those that are more left brain like I am and want to know how things work, that's why we have these slides. So this is under electron microscope. Thank you to our friend, LifeWave friend John Krutoff here, who's given us permission to use these photos that a friend of his took of the patches, and you can actually see these are nano-sized crystals. So under this electron, I think it's electron microscope, you can actually see these tiny, tiny, tiny crystalline structures. And as the patch goes against your skin, over time, the crystals actually melt, and then the patches are used up, and it takes about 12 hours. Sometimes for some lucky people, they actually it stays active longer than 12 hours, but we say about 12 hours against the energy field of the body is how long each of these patches lasts. So this is a really cool picture. That it's like, wow, okay, there's really stuff in there. Because when you look at the patch, you can't see it. It's all seemingly invisible. All right, so our next question, what different kinds of patches exist and what health challenges do they address? So we kind of went over, what the patches are made of and in general how they work, through the acupuncture or the energy system of the body. They're infrared, they communicate with the body through the infrared system. Sometimes you can even call them phototherapy patches because, it's a form of light frequency. It's just one you can't see. So we have a bunch of different patches, and I got to tell you, I pretty much use all of them except for maybe the pain one, unless I happen to have pain or I've been a little too, I've done too many things in the day, like skating and kung fu and running around. But so I don't have to use that one that often.
You mean for
Uh,
yourself personally, you don't use the pain patches very often.
right, yeah, for my own body. I do use it a lot in the office.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying. I don't have to use the silent night patches anymore, but when I was recovering from my chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, the sleep symptom was a big deal. So I did use them quite a bit back then when I was still recovering from those symptoms. So we got patches for appetite control, for anti-aging, cellular repair, detoxification, helping with sleep, deeper, more higher quality sleep, pain relief, energy enhancement, and also stress and inflammation control. So we're going to go through each of these briefly so I can share with you what they do and how I've used them in the office. So the very first set of patches that came out years ago was the Energy Enhancer patches. It's a set of two patches. There's a white one that you wear on the right side of your body. White rhymes with the word white, so that's how you remember. And then the tan one goes on the left side of the body. And it therefore kind of creates a circuit in the body, white and tan. And the cool thing about the energy patches is that it helps people make energy. The molecule of energy is called ATP. Those of you that are biochemistry majors will know what that is. The Krebs cycle, all that good stuff. So to make energy, your little mitochondria, which are inside the cells, actually make ATP, or this molecule of energy. And as we age, we don't make it as efficiently. In fact, normally if you're really, really healthy, you'll burn fat for energy preferentially and then carbohydrates. But as we age, we often will do the opposite, which is why when you were 20, you could probably eat whatever you wanted and you had this really high metabolism. And then later on, as you get older, you could eat less and still gain weight, or, not be able to eat as much without gaining weight. The nice thing about the energy patches is it helps you burn fat more efficiently. Now that doesn't mean you'll necessarily lose weight, because there's a lot of issues with weight gain, like toxins. But if you're burning fat more efficiently like you used to, you'll actually be able to do more in a day and not feel as tired. It's not a stimulant kind of energy. It's not that kind of high and then a crash. It's not caffeine. It's not going to drain your adrenals. In fact, I highly recommend it for people with adrenals challenges because it helps to stabilize the adrenals much more than if you didn't have that support. So definitely a lot safer than coffee or caffeine or other types of so-called, energy products. So that's the energy enhancers. And as far as how often you use them, for most people, if they have fatigue issues, sometimes they'll start using them every day or every other day. And then as they get better, they may not need to use them as often. Those of us that are athletes are trying to do things that normally, 48-year-old doesn't usually do, like, jump and spin a bunch of times in the air when you're skating and try to land on one foot. Then those of us will probably like to use them when we're that active, and it's a lot safer for me to have them on than not on, let me tell you, when I'm doing Paris figure skating.
I have a quick question for you.
Mm-hmm.
By using the energy enhancers over time, like if your energy is low and you use them every day, do you get to a point that you don't need to use them every day, that just by using them you're resetting the body in some way?
Yeah, we often find that if people, at first when I used them years and years ago, I just kind of used them for skating, and I didn't use them every day. But then when I went on a webinar and they talked about using it every day or doing a special protocol called the 5 elements, and we would do that 5 days out of the 7, I decided I was going to try using them every day. And what I didn't realize was, even though I felt so much better using them just with skating, I felt a heck of a lot better when I use them every day. And things like, doing chores and doing dishes and things that I had kind of let go when I was ill, I mean, all of a sudden felt interesting to me. Like I felt interested in doing those things. Like now it's even kind of crazy because I'm like, oh, let's do the budget, like things that normally I would hate doing because I don't have energy or time for that, and now I kind of like to do. So I think that unless you have some objective measure of your energy levels, it's hard for sometimes to people to prove to them that they're back to their 100%, because people might think they're 100%, they're 70%. So there's acupuncture meridian testing machines that you can do. There's like lab tests you can do for your adrenals. I do muscle testing. So I can tell, how repleted people are and how much energy they actually have in storage. Because a lot of people will feel like, oh my gosh, I feel like a 9, and I'll test them, and they're only at a 6. They're only 60% at full throttle, at full battery power. So, and there's always stuff draining us. If you own a cell phone, you're being drained. If you own a computer and you're sitting in front of it, like I am right now, you're being drained. If you have Wi-Fi, you're being drained. So there's all these stressors in a life that drain our energy system. So it's always nice to have a tool that can at least keep you up. And I'm kind of in the group that would rather reverse age than just keep aging. So having more chi or energy is how you stop the aging process. If you can keep your chi, if you can increase your chi or energy levels. Chi is the Chinese medicine word for energy. If you can keep or improve those, then theoretically you should be reverse aging. So that's a really good question. And so it just depends on people's goals. If people just want to feel better and they're not, trying new things, and they don't have to use it every day, but they'll often find that once they get to a certain number of weeks or months, that they can get the same level of energy even if they're not using it on a daily basis, because now their battery is a little bit better and they've charged up more. Does that answer the question?
Yes, wonderful. Thank you. Yes.
Awesome. Great question. So we're going to move to LifeWave here as far as pain relief. This is also a white and a tan patch because, again, we want to have the energy flow, especially when it comes to pain relief. And the really neat thing about the LifeWave patches is that it's fast. I mean, I got to tell you, it takes a lot more time in general to put acupuncture needles in, let the needle sit for a while, which is my technique that I do. I'm not the in and out kind of, needling technique. So the patient, sits there with needles for 30, 40 minutes, something like that, and they may or may not get pain relief that day. Often they do, but not always. Whereas with the patches, if it's going to work on someone, and that's about 80% of the time, we just, use the brochure points, and just use the regular protocol that is in the brochures, 80% of the time we'll get at least 50% decrease in pain immediately. We're talking within seconds or minutes. So I don't have to wait 40 minutes for the result. If I put them on the right spot, 30 seconds or less, they should be pain-free, or at least 50% decrease in pain. So that I'm a real fan of these because it's fast, and you'll know, 80% of the time, somebody's going to respond positively to these. And it doesn't really matter where the pain is coming from or what's causing it. I'll get people all the time saying, oh, I have a blah, 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 herniated disc, I've got this disease name. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't really matter what the name of disease name is or what's causing it. We had a guy with an artificial hip that was hobbling around. Apparently the hip joint, the artificial joint, was being recalled, and he had to wait 2 weeks to see the surgeon to get it out, and he was in excruciating pain. And so one of my distributors called me up, and we patched him over the phone. Basically, I'm telling them where to put the patches, and we put it on either side of the hip joint, the fake hip, and his pain went from like whatever it was, 11 out of 10 to like a 2. And the next day he was completely comfortable. We're talking miraculous here. I'm not even sure I could have done that with acupuncture. So it doesn't really matter where the pain is coming from or what's causing it. It's worth trying. The neat thing about LifeWave Patches too is that on thermograms, which is a type of photography that measures the heat in the body, we'll see that the inflammation in an area, for example, the red and orange in this picture, that's somebody's upper back, the red and orange is like hot, it's inflamed. This is where this person was having pain. Within 5 minutes of putting the patches on, you actually see that the inflammation has gone down significantly. So the yellow and green are actually cooler colors. We can actually document a 4-degree difference in people in the studies that they did with these LifeWave patches, that they can actually cool the area. So instead of putting ice on a swollen ankle, for example, if you twisted your ankle, how long can you have ice on there safely? 20 minutes max. Then you got to take it off, let it rest, put ice back on it. And in Chinese medicine, they never use ice. They feel that it drives the inflammation further into the body. Now, if you have no other choice, it's better than nothing. But what we would do is we would do acupuncture in Chinese medicine to get the heat out of the body, to balance the inflammation. Because some inflammation is good for healing, but not tons. You don't want to be hobbling around with a big swollen ankle all day long. So what the patches do, it kind of helps to relieve that inflammation, and it's so much more efficient and helpful because you'll have it on 12 hours versus an ice pack, which you have to not move and sit there with an ice pack and not move, for 20 minutes at a time. So it's much more efficient. Okay, any questions you can think of, Lydia, for the LifeWave patches?
No, I think you covered it really well, and I'm really aware of the time too, so I don't want us to go over time. So
okay, great. We can keep moving.
yeah.
So now we're going to get into the anti-aging patches. There's 3 of them. The first one I want to cover is the Y-Age Eon, the Eon, spelled Aeon, I know, but it's called Eon, and that decreases stress and inflammation. And I got to tell you, this is probably, if I had to choose only one patch out of the whole bunch, is probably my favorite for many reasons, because what illness or dysfunction or imbalance in the body does not include stress or inflammation? Almost everything does. So it's kind of a global issue with chronic issues and chronic problems. So the Eon patch is a single patch, and there's the points in the brochure that you can use, or you can use my special brain balancing points, which you can get a free download protocol at patchtrainingteam.com. And there's some free videos on how I use it for balancing the nervous system and the brain. So that's patchtrainingteam.com. But here you'll see again on these thermography pictures that an area of inflammation, if you put the Y-Age patch in or near an area of inflammation, you'll actually get a cooling effect. You actually see a little blue dot here. That's where the patch is on this person's back. So again, very, very quick acting. So the next patch, the Y-Age Carnosine, is also for one of the anti-aging patches, and it's best known to promote repair, tissue repair. So if you got someone post-surgical, or they have a chronic illness that has a lot of deterioration of the tissues of the body, this may be really helpful. It's also very helpful for athletes, elite athletes. In fact, they've done some studies on the elite athletes about increasing their flexibility and the recovery time with some of the patches, so that's kind of exciting. I actually had to put a carnosine patch over top of a Band-Aid because a friend of mine convinced me to take this new supplement, and it caused a really big detox reaction. I had this huge zit on my face, in the middle of my cheek, and it just turned into this crater, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. And I was like, I don't want to go to work the next day and look like this. So I put a Band-Aid on and then put the patch right over the Band-Aid. Now it's interesting that you can actually, the patches still work even if it's right over clothing or a Band-Aid or socks. I mean, it's infrared, so as long as it's within 3 inches of the body, it works. And so by the next day, that wound had healed over. I didn't have a crater in my face anymore, so it was pretty impressive. The carnosine actually lasts quite a bit in the body, so a lot of people will use it 2 or 3 times a week. People that use it every day are probably people that have a lot of repair to do, or they're elite athletes, or they're trying to reverse wrinkles, which is very effective for doing fine lines and wrinkles as well. Now, the other anti-aging patch is the Y-Age glutathione patch. Now, glutathione is a master antioxidant that our bodies actually make. So one of the things I wanted to mention about the carnosine, which is also an antioxidant, and glutathione, are that these substances are things you make already in your body, but as we age, we don't make them as efficiently, or sometimes not at all, or not, not to the extent that we need to. And so what the patches actually do is they do not add carnosine or glutathione to your body. It actually gives the body the signal, the sign, the instruction manual, so to speak, to make more carnosine or make more glutathione.
This one's my favorite. This is my favorite patch.
Oh, neat. Oh, neat.
Yep.
Yeah, so glutathione is a pretty big molecule. In fact, if you take it by supplement, it doesn't last very long in the body, and you can't get it inside the cells because it's so big a molecule. IV is better, but IV is about $1,000 a pop, and then after about an hour of getting it IV, it's gone. Your body has used it up. So unlike carnosine, glutathione does not stay around in the body. It gets used up. It's a master antioxidant, so it recharges your vitamin C, your vitamin A, some of the other antioxidants, and it's the most famous for detoxification, and that's why it's used so quickly in the body. So the minute you make it, you use it. Heavy metals, it'll grasp heavy metals and take it out of the body, other toxins as well, and in that way also helps support the immune system because it's also an antioxidant. And so in the studies they've done at LifeWave, they've shown that heavy metals, there's a huge increase in heavy metal excretion in the urine within 24-48 hours of putting the patch on, as well as measuring glutathione levels in the blood, which do vary day to day, but on average what they found was after about 24 hours that the glutathione levels increased in the body from a low to up to 300 times, back to normal levels. So that's pretty exciting. Because there's really nothing else on the market that can do that quickly within 24 hours. If you take a bunch of supplements to increase glutathione, usually takes about 30 days, and it'll increase glutathione levels to about 30% as opposed to 300%. So making your own glutathione is the way to go. Now the SB6 Complete is for appetite control. And how this works actually, I asked David Schmidt, the inventor, about it. And what it does is it actually helps stabilize the energy system a different way than the energy enhancer patches. Now when I started using this patch, I really didn't think I needed it, which I really giggle about now. But back then I ate pretty much every 2 hours. I had to always have food in my purse because if I did not eat every 2 hours, I would crash. I didn't realize, until a lot later that my adrenal glands were kind of pooped out, and that's why that was happening. But I've been like that since a kid, so I thought that was normal. I thought waking up at 5 a.m. and having to grab a snack from the cupboard was normal. oysters and oil. I mean, just crazy stuff like that. So when I started this patch, all of a sudden I realized that I would skip meals. Like I didn't realize that I only needed to eat 3 times a day. And sometimes if I delayed dinner a little bit, I came home late, I wasn't like starving and jittery and, headachy. It just seemed to stabilize my blood sugars. So even though I was on the energy enhancer patches, this really helped me. And as an athlete, I used to eat more when I worked out, but now I eat the same whether I work out or not. I still eat about the same amount. I don't have that increased hunger. So there's something about this patch that helps stabilize my energy. So that can be very helpful. And for people that are trying to lose weight and happen to have an appetite or craving control issue, then this can be really supportive. So you can use this as often as you need to. This is also a single patch, just like the Y-Age patches are a single patch. The Silent Nights is a patch that you use for sleep. Now, obviously, you don't want to use this during the day, although I have to say I've had some patients tell me that, and these are patients with symptoms of anxiety um, and nervousness, and they've used the Eon patch. But for some people that are, and most of these people were getting off medications, so they were having increased anxiety, and they wanted to get off their Valium-like drugs. So when they would have, these panicky symptoms, one of them, for whatever reason, decided they were going to try the Silent Nights because they felt calmer with the Silent Nights. And so she used it during the day, and wouldn't you know it, she used an Eon, she used a Silent Night during the day, and she was fine. She says, wow, this works really great for these, nervous symptoms that I have during the day. I said, really? Were you sleepy? She says, no. And given how it works, it made more sense to me, because the Silent Nights helps your body make a neurohormone or neurotransmitter called serotonin, which helps you make melatonin, which helps you with sleep. But if you've got low serotonin levels, then you would have low melatonin levels too. So, and if you have low serotonin, many people have heard of serotonin, then you can actually get anxiety symptoms if your serotonin levels are low. So then it made sense to me why, for people maybe with low serotonin, that they wouldn't feel overly sleepy during the day if they used it. But Silent Nights is one of the patches that, one of the first patches that the company had submitted research to the European Medical Union. I'm calling it that, but basically it's the toughest, the most strict medical association, so to speak. I think it's in France. So they submitted it to them, and in Europe they have an arm of what we would call the FDA here in America, and what they have is a special team that evaluates alternative therapies. How novel is that? I wonder if that'll ever happen in America. So they'll actually evaluate studies for alternative therapies, because in Europe they're trying to find non-drug ways of, helping people stay healthier, and so they're kind of open to this. But you have to submit quality studies, because if you don't, or you don't meet their criteria, they will not approve it as a medical device. And we're very fortunate and happy that LifeWave is the first company of this type of company that does direct sales, that has a product that's approved by this medical association or medical union in Europe as an actual medical device. And they've actually been so pleased with the results, they've asked the company to submit all their research for all the other patches. So I think we'll see over the years that each of these patches will be approved as a medical device in Europe, being used in medical doctors' offices and in hospitals. So right now in the U.S., we can't claim that it does anything, as far as a disease, because there's no such, no such approval process in the FDA. You kind of have to be treated like a drug in the United States. So one day that might change, so we can be approved. Although all the patches are have 2 patents. And that took a while to get, actually, because the patent people didn't understand infrared technology, but they do now. Um, so Silent Nights is a single patch, and you use it at night when you sleep to help you with deeper sleep. And those people that think they don't need anything for sleep, think to yourself, do I sleep through the night and not get up to go pee or wake up? If you sleep through the night, you should be sleeping about 8-9 hours a night, not waking up. That is ideal sleep. You should be dreaming every single night as well and be able to recall your dreams the minute you wake up and tell a whole story about what happened. It should be technicolor dreams. And if you're not, and if you're getting up to go pee at night, then you're not sleeping well. Seriously. You know, so you should be waking up, without an alarm. You should be, refreshed when you wake up. So those are all the signs of quality sleep. And so if you're repairing your body too, you want to be in that delta wave or slow brainwave state. So that's when your body actually repairs itself. So if you're not really dreaming, you're not really, you're waking up a lot, or you're getting up to go pee, you're probably not in that healing state, and you're not as healthy as you think you might be. So Silent Nights is used more often once people realize that they're actually not sleeping as well as they think they should be. So as far as research for the LifeWave patches, there are approximately, well, a little bit over 70 studies on LifeWave. Some are still ongoing. And there is a web page that you can go to review the studies. They're kind of done all over the world. Some people have contacted the company and said they wanted to do studies on it. Other times the company has hired someone to do studies on it. The most interesting ones lately have been on they've had one on horses, which was very interesting, and they have one, I think, on knee pain, and there's even one. Let me just see if I think I have not. Let me just go to the website. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but I just want to see if that's the one I'm thinking of. I think there might even be one on a disease name. That was done in Europe. So yeah, in Europe, I think they were able to do that because it's in Europe. In America, we can't use disease names. So yeah, so here it is. It's called the osteoarthritis double-blind placebo-controlled ice wave pain relief study, and that was released in June of 2013 in the PharmaScan journal, and that was the head investigator was Dr. Pierre Volkmann on that. So that's the first time we've actually used a disease name, but that's because we can do that in Europe. Okay, just to clarify that. So if you want to know more about the research, there's quite a few links there you can take a look at on the research page at lifewave.com. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of great energy healing products and devices out there, but there are very few that actually have double-blind, placebo-controlled trials, which is the gold standard to see whether something actually works. Now, I was actually part of 2 studies, one on weight loss and one on ice wave, a pilot study on ice wave. We did about 100 patients on ice wave using just the brochure protocol and found that it was effective. Now, after a while, you kind of figured which one was, the real thing as you collected data, but it was double-blinded, meaning I wasn't sure what the company was giving me, which ones were real, which ones were fake, and the patient didn't know which ones were real or fake. So now we've got 20 minutes to go over the common questions about patching. But before we do, anything, Lydia, that you feel like we should cover in more detail before
Well,
we?
the one thing I wanted to mention about the horse stuff is they use the thermograms for to show if the inflammation is down in horses as well. And you can see that on the AcuLife website, and I think it links with the research with LifeWave too. And there's a company called Back on Track, which makes an infrared blanket that you put on top of your horse. And they had the same kind of thermogram results saying it's in all the horse magazines. And their huge claim to fame was that after the horse was wearing the blanket for 2 weeks, It brought down the inflammation and the heat. It brought it down some. And, you know, I don't have it in front of me to show, but it was some. It was, you know, you could see the change. And in 10 minutes, the patches did probably like 80% more, and in 10 minutes versus 2 weeks. And these blankets cost $300 a pop.
Wow.
And people buy them and they use them. So I think that, you know, this is real technology. This is really, I think it's harder to get. I think it's hard to understand. I think everybody can, you know, sit here and think about, oh yeah, it makes sense that if there was a blanket that you're putting on a horse, or maybe even something that you're wrapping around your back, that it could change things that much, it could bring inflammation down that much, that it's harder to wrap your head around some tiny little bitty circular patch can bring down that much heat and inflammation in that short a period of time. But just because it doesn't make sense as far as, you know, putting something on you like a blanket, it really does work, and they have excellent research to back that up. So
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for adding that out. And we didn't go through the horse patching today, which is AccuLife, but it's pretty much exactly the same product as the LifeWave pain relief patches, except that the base solution is slightly different. Doesn't have any homeopathic ingredients in it. But to be honest, you know, it's really the crystalline structures that make inside the patch that resonate the frequency that makes the patch work. So Lydia, having, you know, experience in both the horse world, you know, animal world, as well as the human world, is great. You know, having it come from her and just describing, you know, the differences. We're kind of used to, you know, magnets and, you know, discs and, you know, stuff that we can get in the grocery store and may or may not help people, but sometimes it is a little harder to realize, oh my gosh, this pain going down my leg, you know, that feels like electrical circuit can decrease with just these two little patches. Like, how is that possible? So we get
exactly.
that all the time. Yeah. So thanks for pointing that out. As far as the common questions, one is, how soon will I get results with the patches? Well, the Ice Wave pain relief ones, we want it pretty immediately. If we get them on the right spot, it should be within 30 seconds of placing them in the right spot. You should have at least 50% decrease in pain. With the other patches, energy enhancer patches, sometimes it's you know, within 10 minutes. Like, we'll have somebody, say an athlete, will be able to do, say, I don't know, 100 push-ups in a row, and then they'll you know, have, and they know that's what they can do max, you know, and then they might put energy enhancer patches on and be able to do maybe 50% more. So they might be able to do 150 push-ups, for example. So sometimes it's very immediate. Other times people don't notice a difference, even though something's happening in the body, for a couple of days. So with energy patches, if someone's really fatigued, they're at a 2 out of 10 in energy, you know, a 3 out of 10 may not seem much of a difference for them. So they may have to wear it for a couple of weeks and then go, oh my gosh, I'm not falling asleep at 3 p.m. and I'm able to stay awake through the entire movie now when I watch movies with my kids at night, you know. So sometimes it's a little bit more subtle. One of our distributors, Gretchen Yui, was literally, you know, after dinner, she was so tired. She has 4 kids. You know, she was so tired she couldn't even put the dishes in the dishwasher after dinner. She just leave them in the sink till the next day. She was so tired. And the first day she used the energy enhancer patches, she was doing the sink, she was doing a load of laundry, and her family was like, "What's gotten into you?" You know. But she felt great. Like, she felt normal. She felt like better than she had in years. So it can be that quick for some people. As far as the anti-aging goes, now I can notice an effect with the Aeon, the anti-stress patches, with my muscle testing immediately. But as far as the glutathione and carnosine, as far as the wrinkle stuff goes, I mean, that's going to take about 3 weeks, you know, for you to start noticing the smoothness of the skin coming out. Some people have increases in their energy, or they feel more balanced, they sleep better. That can be within a few days or a few weeks. So with the YH anti-aging, you need to be a little bit more patient, because it's really, you know, getting some shifting inside the body. The glutathione levels up, and that can take a while to get your toxins out of your body, for example.
yeah, well, and everyone is different. Like, the reason that the glutathione is my favorite is because I feel almost immediately better with them.
Mm.
I have more energy. I feel more grounded. I feel better when I wear a glutathione patch.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's your perfect
unusual.
case of how it's different. And same thing with the appetite control. For a lot of people, it's pretty much immediate, like that day they feel a difference. They're not eating as much, they're not craving as much. For other people, they need a few days, to really get that energy system moving and going before they notice a difference. And as far as who the patches are made for, I think that some people when they're listening to or watching this, they're like, oh my gosh, Aunt so and so needs this, or my husband needs this, or my teenage son who's an athlete needs this. And it might be true that they may benefit from it, but who the patches are really made for are people who are health conscious people who will take the effort to try something new, who are open minded, who um, are going to actually make that investment. So for example, if you're a couch potato chip candy eating person watching sitcoms all day, you're not going to spend the money on something healthy like this because it's just not in it's a disconnect. It doesn't make sense for you. You'd rather spend it on maybe a new plasma TV or something, because that's more important. So you want to make sure that you don't push it on people who aren't into health and wellness because they'll just resent you for it, first of all. And it's a waste of money because a lot of times people have not open to it. I've tried, to help, friends or family members in the past, and it's just been a dud because not because they didn't respond to it, it's because they wouldn't try it. And I mean, I've given patches away. I've spent hundreds of dollars giving them away, trying to help people, my friends, and it's just ridiculous that because they just won't try it. I mean, they'll just lose them, So I rarely actually give them away. I mean, occasionally I will if somebody is having a pain issue in my family. I don't expect them to buy it. I'm just like, let me just fix that. you know so I'll just put them on there. Pain's gone, okay, great. I don't even ask them to buy it or if they want any more or whatever. I just, if they ask me, great, but if not, I just don't bother because they're just not the kind of people who are into this alternative stuff. But if people like acupuncture, energy healing, eat well, they're conscious of their diet, they're open-minded, then that's who really the patches are for, because you're going to get the most benefit out of them because they're actually gonna use them. So that's why I put that question in there. It's not like it's a trick question, but I didn't want people to get frustrated because their son won't use them. You know, they might want to drink their toxin laden uh, Gatorade. with sugar and all that crappy blue dye in there, rather than use the patches that are going to be a heck of a lot more effective and actually have data supporting their use. But hey, that's them. As far as here's the question: will patches help cancer? Well, you probably know that we don't talk about disease names, so there's absolutely no studies done on cancer, and there probably will never be. As far as can it support people with symptoms who are going through cancer and chemo, absolutely. So if they have fatigue, that can be really helpful. Stress, absolutely. Inflammation, absolutely. Sleep problems, absolutely. The one thing with chemo patients is that they're often very dry and dehydrated. So in order for the patches to work really well, people do need to hydrate well during the day. So you need to drink at least half an ounce per body weight of water per day, which is about 2 liters, or for most people, about 65 ounces of water per day. Stay hydrated. The patches work best when you have hydration because it works on your energy system, and energy moves better when you're hydrated. A lot of people do use glutathione patches to help with detoxifying the body, related to, if they have cancer, they assume there's toxins on board. If they've done chemo, they finish the chemo, and then they do the glutathione or carnosine to try to repair the body from, say, radiation damage, to get the chemotherapy, whatever leftover toxin out of the body. So that can be really supportive to help the body heal after chemo.
What about during chemo? Would they do the glutathione or the carnosine while they're going through chemo or radiation? Or would you advise to wait?
I would probably wait. I mean, you could definitely do the carnosine during and the eon during because it'll help the stress handling system of the body doing the eon. But the glutathione, I would probably wait until after. Although there's some thought that having increased antioxidants would help kill the cancer, but at the same time you're going to be detoxifying the chemo out of the body. So, if you're going to do chemo, I would wait at least on the glutathione until after. But you can always do carnosine at night while you're sleeping and helping the body to repair faster, even if you're going under treatment. And definitely, if you're going through radiation, that's only during the day, so you can actually go ahead and do the carnosine at night if you want to, or you could wait until after it's over. But, with carnosine, it's less of an issue than the glutathione. So the next question, are patches okay if I'm on medication and supplements? Well, there's no interaction with medications because it's all through the energy system of the body. So it's sort of like if you're getting acupuncture, it's not going to interact with your medications because there's no substance going into the body that might interact with your medication. With your supplements, same thing. It's not interacting with your supplements, so it could work in conjunction with your supplements. That'd be helpful. You may need a lower dose, possibly. For example, if you're on medication for pain or medication for sleep, you might possibly need a lower dose of it over time if you're on the patches for those symptoms. Can the patches overstimulate the body and be dangerous in some people? Well, the idea of the patches, all the patches really, is to balance the body, balance the energy in the body. There's studies by Dr. Sherry Greenberg, who has more letters after her name than in my name. She's done a lot of studies using EIS, which is a special machine, showing that the organs actually improve in their organ function as well as at the cellular level. And so overstimulation doesn't happen because it just isn't a stimulant. It doesn't work that way. The patches balance the body. So if you take a meridian testing machine, if there are meridians that are out of balance, some are too hyper, some are too low in energy, and you put energy patches on that person, within about 5-10 minutes, you redo the study, you'll notice that their energies in all those different organs and all those different systems start evening out instead of stimulating them too high. So can patches be used on pregnant women, children, people with pacemakers? With pregnant women, we don't have any studies on, and neither do all the drug companies. They never study pregnant women. So this really is one of those things that if you're not a medical doctor, you can't really claim it's safe or not safe. If people ask me, what I say is, well, we haven't done any studies on pregnant women, but I do acupuncture, or I'm comfortable doing acupuncture on pregnant women. I'd rather do that than them having to take a drug, that would harm the baby. So for me, anything that's energetic is less harmful than a drug, but I'm a medical doctor, so I can actually say those things and make a decision, or help the patient make a decision about that. So I'll say if it's between a drug and the patches, I'd much rather you use the patches because nothing goes into the body. But we cannot claim that they're safe because we just don't have a study on that. So that's kind of, you're kind of stuck there. So the person has to make their own choice or ask their doctor. These work like acupuncture, nothing goes through the body. Do you feel this is okay for my pregnancy? If their doctor says yes, then you're good to go. As far as children go, patches can be used safely on children of the age that they can give you feedback. So we do not use patches on babies because they cannot talk and they can't give us feedback. So if your 7-year-old has a headache and you put LifeWave patches on them, usually within 10 minutes, they're fine and they're running around. So then you can take them off if you want to. And if they're uncomfortable at all, they'll tell you, oh, I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. Then you take the patch off. So I think it's important that they need to be speaking age. Same thing if you have the elderly. If you've got an elderly person who can't talk, you really shouldn't be using the patches because, you never know. They might be having like a detoxification reaction. Chemicals might be detoxing from the body. It might be uncomfortable. As far as pacemakers go, we have not done a study on pacemakers specifically, but we have done an energy enhancer study where we actually put the patches over the pericardium 6 point, which helps balance the heart. And interestingly enough, people's heart rhythms improved with the patches on. So you might extrapolate from that and say, well, if it balances the energy of the body and the heart, the heart is an organ and the heart rhythm improved even in someone without a pacemaker, maybe it's probably safe, So would I use it in somebody with a pacemaker? The answer would be yes, but I'm a medical doctor, so I'm allowed to say those things. If you have someone in your family, it's their personal choice, but I wouldn't go necessarily claiming that it's, safe and that they shouldn't listen to their doctor if their doctor says no, don't use them. So just be respectful of that. Can you use patches once removed from the body? Well, the company doesn't like us reusing patches once the adhesive backings are off because they think it's unsanitary. So if you're going to, say you want to just use patches for a few minutes, like in pets or in, your children whose energy system is much faster, and you don't know whether they're going to keep them on, you could use medical tape and then remove it, whenever you want, because they last about 12 hours. So that's the one thing. We don't want to confuse people and say, oh, you can reuse them, when the company doesn't want us saying that because they don't think it's sanitary to do that. But if you do not take the backings off and you just want to see if someone's sensitive, how they're going to feel, you could use medical tape. And once you know that they're fine with it, then you can just take all the adhesive backing off and use it for the whole 12 hours. Is it possible to be allergic to the adhesive? Yeah, it's possible, although a lot of times the rashes that we get are detox rashes, meaning that their skin, that acupuncture point is detoxing toxins that's coming right out of the skin. Because if you put a patch on your leg, you don't get a rash. You put a patch on your arm, you get a rash. That means that channel in your arm is detoxing. Because if you were allergic, you'd be allergic everywhere, right? Not just your arm. So it's very rare to have allergic reactions to the adhesive, but it has happened. And usually these people are allergic to everything. But it's possible. But if you get a rash in one spot and on another, that means you just can't use that point for a while. It's just detoxing too quickly. So what is detoxification and how do patches cause this? Well, we mentioned it before, but what it is when your body gets the right signal and it feels more balanced, it will start to heal itself. When it starts to heal itself, it'll often kick out toxins stored in the body because it's now strong enough to do that. Now, if you're not strong enough to do that, if your stress handling system is not strong enough, your body will just store the toxins. That's why we have a lot of belly fat going around everywhere in the world, because there's a lot of toxins in the world and it's got to be stored somewhere safe. How much safer is fat? Fat doesn't do much, unlike the liver or the heart or the brain. So when the body starts getting stronger, it'll automatically start kicking toxins out. And for some people, those symptoms can be headache, dry mouth, a little metal taste in their mouth, um, fatigue or feeling tired. I know when I first started the glutathione patches, now I had a lot of acne issues back then in my early 40s. And when I started the glutathione, I was sleepy, kind of tired for the first 3 weeks. Not horribly tired, but just feeling less of my multitasking self. I just felt like sitting and reading, instead of working. But that lasted 3 weeks and then it was gone. I also had some dry mouth, so I drank a lot of water, and which was perfect because my body wanted to get rid of toxins. So those are usually self-limiting symptoms, usually not a big deal. Increasing your hydration is usually enough, to either avoid or mitigate those symptoms. But if somebody is having, severe symptoms, it could be they're dehydrated or they're really low in minerals like magnesium or zinc. That'll cause some of those excessive detox symptoms. In that case, we might use the patches for much shorter periods of time, or talk to their holistic doctor about checking their mineral levels, or checking to see if they need more hydration, that kind of thing. So it's not a big deal if you have detox. In fact, it's probably a sign that it's working. We just don't want it to be very uncomfortable. Slight symptoms are fine. People can usually tolerate them and hydrate better and get rid of them. So what should you do if you feel unwell after patching? Well, drink more water and take them off because you might not be able to tolerate that amount of detox, and you may want to use them for shorter periods of time. That's where the tape comes in. Instead of taking the adhesive backings off, if you're super sensitive, you're not sure, you might just want to use them for shorter periods of time. Make sure that you don't have excessive detox reactions, and then you can use them and work up to every day using them. How are they different from magnets and holographic discs? Magnets are kind of dumb. They kind of have a north and a south, and they don't really know, can't really signal the body to do anything. It just sends energy one way or the other. And you can't overuse magnets. You can actually create energetic holes in the body if you put them on near your head or in inappropriate places. So I would caution you to really, make sure you have a healer who knows what they're doing if you're using magnets. And certainly they're not as smart as patches. It can't increase your glutathione levels. Same thing with holographic discs. So far, the studies on holographic discs have been really, really sparse. And there was one study that showed they did not work. It doesn't mean they don't all work. Some people think they work great. I personally didn't get them to work on me. So it's kind of like the jury's still out on, in general, whether they work on people or not. And the other thing is they're not organic crystals like in the LifeWave patches. That's more like a biological rhythm or spectrum of energies. Holographic discs are very kind of mechanical energies. They're not biological frequencies, and maybe that's why it doesn't work on me personally. They're not biological frequencies, so they may not work as well. How many patches can I wear safely at one time? We recommend no more than 6 patches. Now, some people are just kind of like patch crazy, and they want to use like, ice wave and energy and all the YH and everything. You have to kind of work up to it because again, your body's going to detox. So I can wear 6 right now safely, and I don't detox so heavily. It works all great in combination. But we kind of tell people to start slowly with one type of patch, then add the other, then add the other slowly over, days or weeks.
Sorry, when you talk about 6, do you mean 6 total? Do you mean 6 sets? Like
6 total.
6 total. Okay, so then if you're using the pain and you're using the energy, that's 4 right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. Yes, 6 total patches. Some people get very, like I say, patch crazy. They love them so much, and they'll come and say, well, it's not working, and then you'll see they'll have 10. I'm like, okay, you're confusing the body's energy system a little too much. You need to simplify. And so we say, what's your main symptom? And then, kind of go with that first and then add on the other patches. If people have no symptoms and they just want anti-aging, they just want to be well, then we just recommend the 3 anti-aging patches and have them rotate those, every day. And, they can use that for wellness and reversing the signs and symptoms of aging. They don't have any, problems. So how do I combine patches? Well, that's a little bit longer a talk, and we actually have a whole class on combining patches. It's a class that's free for people that are either clients of ours who bought patches from us or distributors in our organization who we've sponsored. How to do that. Now, you can do that based on the brochures, but sometimes people have a lot more questions on how to creatively patch beyond the brochure. So we actually have a whole 1-hour class on that. So I don't want to go through that today, but like I said, you usually start slow with one type of patch and then kind of add on every couple of days depending on how you feel. How do I know how to use them? Well, we usually recommend following the brochures first, although some people will consult me or hire me or Lydia to specifically, teach them how to use a combination of patches, and then we'll actually pick acupuncture points for them to use. But most people, 80% of people, are going to be just fine using what's in the brochure. Just, just go slow. Don't add a bunch of patches all in one day. I did have one distributor out in the Thailand? Oh, no. I'm trying to think. Was it Vietnam or Thailand? Anyway, so he was so happy to get them. He put them all on him. And boy, he was not happy camper. He was so headachy. I was like, oh my gosh. I said, you didn't read the instructions I gave you. And he's like, well, I wanted to try everything. I'm like, not in one day. That's not a good idea. So just go slow. Will patches work on everyone? Nope. They will not. Like I said, about 80% of people will get results right off the bat. The other 20% may have some issues. They may have, dehydration, which is the most common issue. And sometimes, for whatever reason, their energy system just does not want to work. Maybe they don't have enough nutrients on board to make some of the antioxidants. So it doesn't work on everyone. But we usually tell people to try it because there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, and if they, don't get the results they're looking for within that 30 days, they can return them for a full refund. So how long should I try them before if I can tell if they're working? I would say give it a good 3 weeks. I mean, some people are going to be reacting faster than others. Sometimes it's a day, sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's a week. So I would say, give them a good go for about, at least 3 weeks before you decide. And use all the points in the brochure too, because I had one guy who, he said, oh, the silent nights aren't working. So I went through with his wife, who was my patient. I said, well, did he try all the points? Well, no. Well, which point didn't he try? Well, the one in the center of his forehead. He thought that was too weird. I said, well, just just do me a favor, just try that, and just, if it doesn't work after a couple days, we'll get him a full refund. So she slapped it on his forehead, and within 5 minutes he was snoozing, and he was sold because that acupuncture point was the one that was going to work for him. So you should try all the different points in the brochure before you decide that it isn't working for you. Will the SP6 Complete Patch make me lose weight? Well, it depends. For some people that have appetite control as a main issue, then yeah, some people have definitely lost a lot of weight using it, but weight loss is a complex thing for a lot of people. So if you have toxins, you may benefit from glutathione. If you have stress issues causing your weight gain, you may benefit from Eon. If you're not eating, quality whole food, that's not going to be helpful. If you're adding toxins to your body every day, it's not going to be helpful. So, we can't guarantee that's going to help, but it should help with the appetite control piece of weight gain. So who shouldn't use patches? Well, I think we talked about little babies who can't talk, people who can't communicate, and people who are negative and aren't open. I mean, just don't bother. It's a waste of money. They can really need them, in terms of pain or whatever they're going through, but if they're not open to it, then I don't think they should use them. You shouldn't push them to use it. So you need somebody who's kind of open to alternative therapies. How much do they cost? The retail cost of the patches are $90 for a set of 30 patches, and the wholesalers or the distributors get a break. They can get them as low as, well, depending on how you sign up as a distributor, but generally speaking, $50 for a set of 30 patches. So that's about a $40 difference between retail and wholesale. And we do have a free training video on how to do that. Some people just get wholesale, not because they want to sell it, just because they want to wholesale for their for their family, and the company's fine with that. If you just want to get a wholesale account for your family and not do any selling, that's perfectly fine. In fact, we prefer you don't do any selling if you don't know how to do it, because it'll just frustrate you and us. But just get a wholesale. It's actually on our patch training team page, patchtrainingteam.com/get started. So if you go to patchtrainingteam.com/get started, there's a video on how to get the best price. It's one of the reasons we put the video up is because we don't like people getting them on Amazon or eBay, because they don't know what they're getting, and there's no guarantee, because the company won't guarantee anything that's sold on Amazon or eBay, and you don't know how it was stored. We've had people get, LifeWave patches. They say it doesn't work. They contact me, and I find out that they were only sold tan patches. And I was like, ugh, because I know if it's coming straight from the company, what they're getting. And also, we don't want to do customer support for people that have not bought from us. It's not really fair, for us to spend all this time teaching and training you how to use them if you're going to buy from someone else. And you can get it cheaper just by, signing up as a wholesaler. So we just want people to be supported and know how to use them and get support and answer their questions. And we actually have a secret Facebook page for people that are part of our customers or part of our team, that they can get their questions answered. And if the patches don't work, there's basically 4 main reasons they don't work or seem like they don't work on people. Number 1 is dehydration. Number 2 is mineral deficiencies. Number 3 is, I would say, probably brain balance issues. So what that means is their stress handling system is so out of whack that they need to correct it first, and that's where the Eon patch comes in and my brain balancing protocol. So I often find that if the LifeWave patches don't work using the brochure, if I just add an Eon patch right near the brain, boom, all of a sudden the pain goes away. So, well, I guess the 4th thing is actually, it's really mainly 3, mainly 3. So the mineral deficiencies. And the 4th thing is really like, did you put them on right? Like I have some people that, they put the white on the wrong side, and that's why it didn't work. The white goes on the right for energy, tan goes on the left. And so that's the 4th most common reason. But dehydration, mineral deficiencies, stress handling system totally out of whack, and then not using them correctly. So here's that website again, how to get patches at the best prices and also the support you need. So patchtrainingteam.com/get started. There's a free video training there for you. And every first Monday of each month, Dr. Dennis Lobstein and I get together and we answer questions on our radio show. And that way, people from other teams that are not on our teams can actually get some questions answered for free without necessarily having to pay us, $200 a consult. So you can always call into the show and ask your question, or go to the LifeWave radio page and post a comment, making sure there's no disease names on there, and we can answer them each month on the radio show. And Lydia can be contacted at www.patchitup.net or on her email, acuanimal@gmail.com. So if you're listening to this and you do not have a trusted LifeWave distributor who's well trained, knows what they're doing, has been in the company for a while, and you are interested in being sponsored or having someone to support you that you buy from, you can contact Lydia or myself. We're both acupuncturists, so whoever you resonate with, you can go ahead and contact us. And for those that are already LifeWave distributors, woohoo! You guys are awesome. Keep it going. Keep spreading the word. We have something special for you as well. Like I said, we have a secret Facebook page where people can post questions about patching and get support, even if you're not on our downline. And how that works is there's a membership site. You can go to patchtrainingteam.com/access, and it is a annual membership of $249, and what that gets you is access to me, access to the other team members, acupuncturists who can answer your patching questions, as well as recordings of all the trainings we've ever done, the webinars. There's like a 7 or 8 webinar series, a detailed series on how the patches work and how you put them on, how to combine patches, all the different trainings on the matrix, the theta nutrition, all in one place. All our marketing materials that we use specific to our team, you're welcome to make your own as well. You can download those. But the most important thing that people really love is the access. People will just say, hey, I got a guy, in my practice that is having this issue or that issue. What do you think I should use for patching? And getting a response within a day or two from one of, the other team members who can help you. So a lot of people will do that, and that way, you get access to the benefits of being on our team, even if you happen to be on another team, and you can still be supportive of your team too. So, oh gosh, we've gone 12 minutes over time, so there's still people listening, so that's awesome. Thank you so much for your patience, and thanks, Lydia, for doing the interview with me.
Well, that was really great. Every time I work with you, I learn so much more. So it's really been a pleasure.
Fun. Awesome, and I just want to give appreciation to everyone listening to this. This will be available as, a free, webinar that is going to be forever saved on YouTube, so you can always come back and listen to it again or watch it again, and spread it around to people that you think might be helpful.
Well, thank you so much for your time and all of your input and education. Thank you so much for doing this, Karen.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you too, Lydia. Again, if you want to chat with us or get connected, if you're not already a LifeWave distributor or customer, you can contact Lydia Wainwright at her website, patchitup.net, or acuanimal@gmail.com.
Yeah, and actually, the better way to reach me would be through either acuanimal@gmail.com or my acupuncture website, acuanimal.com. My Patch It Up is still in process, so there's a lot of information on there, but it's the other ways are better to reach me.
Okay. Yep. And then to reach me, just go to patchtrainingteam.com, and remember there's a lot of freebies on the website. So if you haven't gotten your download for the brain balancing protocol, go ahead and put your name and email address and get on our mailing list for that. And there's a contact button right on the webpage that you can contact me. All right. Good night, everyone. Thanks again, Lydia. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Good night, all.